It's a wrap for Frank Reich. It's over.
Already?
It's over. How much time did you spend talking about well, we didn't do a show Friday, so I'm sure you talked about it with Lauren yesterday.
A wrap?
It's a wrap, dude. It's an absolute wrap. Let's go through this. So here's Frank Reich Monday's press conference. He was asked by Darren Gant, our friend, Panthers.com, about the development of Bryce Young, which is a split conversation, which we can address now because I do think this is an important thing.
How does he kind of balance that long-term development versus today sort of mentality?
I think, having the perspective of, the historical perspective of rookie quarterbacks can be a backdrop to understand and give a little perspective, but we're primarily going to be driven by the results that we're seeing now, and we should. But sometimes the historical perspective and understanding the struggles of a lot of great quarterbacks over a long time can help just give me, okay, I'm not going to lose my mind. I'm not real happy right now. We all have to get better, but I understand that, I'm not alone here. Okay, there's some pretty good people, alongside me that have had some similar struggles. And so that maybe gives us all just a little bit more, okay, it's not an excuse, because we all are very driven to get it right, just like he is, we all are.
So that's Frank Reich talking about Bryce Young. He is absolutely right about development, not getting too worked up on what you see in year one. CJ Stroud is having this incredible rookie season. It's been so incredible that the Houston Texans might actually win their division, and there's been fringe conversations about whether or not he's an MVP candidate.
Oh, Lord.
Now, I will say this about CJ Stroud and the MVP conversation. Did I misremember the Houston Texans Carolina Panthers game?
No, that actually happened.
That happened. And was CJ Stroud, for the most part, bottled up in that game by the Carolina Panthers?
Yes.
If you lose to this Panthers team and you are what is likely to be the only Panthers win of the season, you have eliminated yourself from MVP conversations. QB wins and everything else go out the window when, oh, you're so great and you're putting the world on fire with these rookie stats. Explain why you lost to that team that doesn't look like it knows what it's doing. So that's what gets me to the Frank Reich portion of this conversation. Reich is correct about the development of Bryce Young and why I'm not going to get too wrapped up in whether this guy's a bust or not. I do think that with the nature of our business, there is a rush to be right from the jump. So you can go back and see, I always told you about Bryce Young on both sides of the argument, by the way, like the Bryce Young defenders and everything else. I'm here to tell you, I don't know what's going to happen with Bryce Young because there's a lot of external factors that come into this stuff. Some teams are set up. Like, look at the Vikings, man. Like, out of nowhere, you got a QB who's literally learning things on the sideline, coming in and keeping the Vikings going. I was in Detroit. I watched them beat the Chargers at a bar ahead of the Metallica show. You're telling me that Jared Goff was going to, in the future, look like a pretty capable quarterback that's helping the Detroit Lions look like Super Bowl contenders? I couldn't have told you that. So there's all sorts of levels with Bryce Young. But I'm here to tell you that it's not going to happen with this coaching staff because it's becoming more and more clear that Frank Reich is trying to coach a team that he wants rather than a team that he has. And that, to me, is always a huge indicator of whether or not you're a good coach. If you cannot adapt to what you've got, like, okay, we want to be this, but we're not right now, so let's do this. Look, it's a big credit to Steve Wilkes. He looked at what the Panthers were at the end of last year when he took over as the interim coach, and what they do. Like, all right, man, we got this guy. We're going to go power. We're going to run the damn ball. We're going to rely on our defense. And you notice how when they became that identity, the offensive line improved.
Much better.
Okay. Now, there's been injuries and everything else. I get all that. Injuries are a part of the game. But tell me what you've seen out of Frank Reich in the scheme that tells you that it's going to work. There's also the mixed messaging. So during Monday's press availability, Joe Person, Mike Kay of the Charlotte Observer, asking pretty pointed questions about, well, why aren't you doing RPOs? Why aren't you doing play action? Why are you running a particular offense that's so vanilla, so archaic, that all the tape eaters on social media, which I'm sure David Tepper is looking at, by the way, with his burner account, they're all saying in unison, this offense is antiquated.
Why have we seen him so seldom work under center? And
seems like there would be some benefits to that, especially like where play action is concerned.
That is a philosophical question, that I could say there are some benefits from being under center. You just have to weigh in the overall picture, the pros and cons of that move. We do feel like, we run some pistol, and I do think pistol complements being under center. Is it the exact same? No, it's not the exact same. Is play action a little bit better under center than is pistol? Probably a little bit better. But then we think there's some other advantages from being in gun. We do want to be a mix. We do want to have a little bit of under center. We don't, we're going to mostly be in gun. That's mostly who we'll be. That's what Bryce has been good at his whole life. He had 2% of his snaps in college were 1 or 2% were under center. We have introduced that. He does do it. He does feel comfortable doing it. There's no problems doing it. But as we continue to develop what we're doing as an offense, for right now, it's just going to be a smaller part.
Go ahead.
Sorry. With that said, it does benefit Bryce in theory, philosophy, but do you think that you have the tools around him that can benefit from that as well?
Yeah, and it just goes to, and again, I don't want to, say everything that we're trying to do schematically, but in the big picture.
I'm going to pause it right there. What I love about Frank Reich is he's still acting as though there's some super secret sauce that we just can't see. No, dude, we can see what this is.
Such a difficult situation to be in.
I know.
They don't have the pick that they're about to earn. That would be at the top of the draft. The guy that you drafted is struggling. You don't have the right pieces around him. You missed on the Miles.
They do. No, they do.
You missed on the Miles Sanders signing. That was a critical error.
Frank was asked about the personnel. He was asked, hey, I think it was from David Newton at ESPN. He's like, okay, you have this philosophy, now that you've got X amount of games under your belt.
He's just saying that.
And here's what he said.
Listen, I love our play. We have all the players we need to win football games. Are we always evolving and developing as an offense? Yes, of course. So with the vision that we have for our offense this year, we don't need anybody else. We got winning receivers. We got winning
winning receivers? Really?
Yeah, he's saying that, trying to pick them up.
We have to just play winning football. And that starts with me. I have to do a better job as a head coach, getting our offense playing more consistently to win football games. Okay. But when I look at our groups, at our position groups, and I look at our opponents, I see opportunities to win.
You're right. He has to say this.
Yeah.
He just can't go to the podium and say, man, all these guys that we thought we were putting around Bryce Young suck.
It's a completely lost season. You add in making the wrong choices, and then you add in the injuries up front. Then, quite frankly, at the risk of being a broken record, you took a guy with the number 1 overall pick who's not ultra athletic. He's not an elite athlete.
Okay.
He's not a guy who's going to make something out of nothing.
You can't do anything about that anymore. It's happened.
I understand that.
It's a sunk cost, which gets me to my larger point. He's sitting here talking about we like what we have. What are the consequences for the Carolina Panthers for them thinking they built a team to be a playoff contender and none of it offensively has panned out?
It's worked defensively either.
But I want to focus specifically on the offense. He was reluctant to give up the play calling duties. He was asked about whether or not he would take them back because things haven't exactly been panning out with Thomas Brown. So you say you've got these guys. You have Scott Fitterer telling us, yeah, man, we put people around Bryce Young we think we can win with. And you had David Tepper who's talking about, man, he's the point guard. So where are the consequences? So I get the optimism. I was listening to Kyle Bailey on my drive back for a little bit. And he had Steve Smith on, and the former wide receiver, ice up son, everything else. And Smith was being very, very careful with his words because he also doesn't want to dump on these guys, right? But as he was talking about going and getting the players, he was asked the question, if you put CJ Stroud on the Panthers and you put Bryce Young on the Texans, does this work out the same way? And his answer, I thought, was very, very correct. If you put Bryce Young on the Houston Texans, I don't know what you get. I don't know if you get a replication of what CJ Stroud is doing. But I can tell you, if you put CJ Stroud on this team, the Panthers, he is not lighting it up as a rookie. And he's absolutely right about that. He is not with this team, which gets me back to the consequences. And you banked on these players. You banked on this scheme. The scheme sucks. The players didn't pan out. So please tell me why you deserve another year, especially if it continues in this direction. There has been no improvement.
But I understand Frank Reich will be the one who takes the fall, but do you honestly think Frank Reich is the one who took Bryce Young? I don't.
Well,
I think Frank Reich went and got Miles Sanders.
Yeah. How'd that pan out?
Right? That's one of the critical errors to this season.
Yeah.
One of the most critical errors to this season.
Do you remember DJ Chark?
And I liked it. I liked going against Sanders.
I mean, Adam Thielen's been fine. He's been fine.
Whatever.
He's been fine.
He's whatever.
Right.
He should be your third receiver. He's your number one receiver.
So I really do think that they would.
What the Panthers want and what David Tepper wishes he could buy with his billions of dollars is a fast forward button. They just need to fast forward to the 2025 draft. I mean,
well, they wanted to fast forward to this draft.
I understand that.
See,
but
I think you're wrong there. I don't think it's fast forward. I think they need a pause button, not a fast forward button.
I don't think the pause is going to save them.
Maybe that's the case.